The evening was perfect. Thousands of tiny string lights shimmered above the dance floor of the grand country estate. Laughter and happy chatter spilled from every corner of the garden, bubbling up like champagne. It was my older sister Lauren's wedding day, or, as my mother had described it to everyone who would listen, the family's proudest day. Before we begin, I'd love to know where you're all from. Drop a comment and tell me your city. And after you've heard my whole story, be honest. What would you have done in my place? Tell me in the comments below. We read every single one. Now, let's begin. I stood near the back of the beautiful ballroom, trying to be invisible. My hands clutched the hem of my lavender dress. It was the only nice one I owned, its silk fabric worn thin from too many careful washes. But I held my head high, trying to look like I belonged. Then came the words that cut deeper than any knife. "Oh, Hannah, you don't need to bring a gift," my mother said. Her voice was sickly sweet and loud enough for all our nearby cousins to hear. "We all know you can't afford one anyway." A flutter of cruel laughter rose from the group around her. It felt like a dozen tiny blades. My sister Lauren, looking stunning in her white wedding gown, smirked and whispered something to her bridesmaid. I still heard it. She should be the one receiving gifts, not giving them. A hot flush of shame crept up my neck. I forced a weak smile, pretending the words didn't hurt. "I just came to wish you happiness," I said quietly. My father leaned in, his voice dripping with disappointment. "You should have just stayed home, Hannah. A day like this is for celebrating success, not for handing out pity." Their words seemed to echo through the huge ballroom, bouncing off the golden chandeliers and the polished marble floors. People turned to stare. Some looked amused, others looked uncomfortable. With every glance, I felt myself shrinking, becoming smaller and smaller. I took a step back, ready to slip away before the tears in my eyes could betray me and spill over. And then, the entire room stilled. The heavy, ornate doors at the far end of the hall swung open with a soft, important sound. Every single head turned. A tall man in a perfectly tailored black suit walked in. He moved with a confident, sharp energy. He was completely composed. His presence alone changed the very air in the room. It was as if the music forgot to play. The laughter died instantly. Even the chandeliers seemed to hum in the new silence. It was my husband, Nathan. He had told me he couldn't make it. A last-minute business trip, he'd said. But there he was, walking directly toward me, with that calm, steady walk that always made people instinctively move out of his way. His tie was slightly loosened, and his jaw was tight. My father frowned. "What is he doing here?" Nathan reached me. He gently brushed a single tear from my cheek with his thumb and gave me a faint, reassuring smile. "I couldn't let you face them alone," he whispered. Before I could even reply, he turned and walked toward the main wedding table, where Lauren and her new husband, Ryan, sat like a king and queen. He slipped a thick, golden envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket. He placed it gently on the table in front of them. "Congratulations," he said, his voice steady and clear, carrying across the silent room. "This is a house, courtesy of the woman you just mocked." The silence that followed was so complete, you felt it could shatter glass. Lauren's husband, Ryan, blinked in confusion. A house?" Nathan nodded. "In the hills, fully paid for. It's her gift to you." Then he turned and looked directly at my parents. "From the daughter you call an embarrassment," he announced. "The one who's been secretly paying your mortgage for the last 2 years." My mother's face went pale as a ghost. "That's not. You're lying." Nathan reached into his jacket again. This time he pulled out a second envelope and laid it on the table. It was full of documents, bank statements, transfer records. My name, Hannah Cole, was clearly visible on every line. "Hannah's name is right there," he said simply. Gasps rippled through the crowd like a wave. The DJ froze, his music cutting off mid-song. The photographers stood with their cameras half lowered, unsure if they should keep recording this drama. I stood there trembling, caught between absolute shock and a quiet, deep satisfaction. Lauren's voice cracked. Why would you do that for us?" Nathan looked at her. Then his gaze softened as he turned back to me. "Because she still believes family means something," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Even when they forget she exists." No one spoke. The music never started again. And for the first time in years, my parents were left with absolutely nothing to say. The ballroom felt frozen, as if time itself had stopped to watch the scene. Everyone was still staring at Nathan and me, their faces a mixture of pure awe and total disbelief. The golden envelope sat on the table, untouched, shining under the bright lights. Lauren's new husband, Ryan, shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Is this some kind of joke?" he muttered, his voice weak. Nathan's gaze was calm, but unyielding. "No joke. That house is yours. Hannah bought it months ago. She wanted it to be a surprise." My mother, Margaret, pressed her trembling hands to the string of pearls around her neck. Impossible, she insisted, her voice shaking. Hannah doesn't even have a steady job. What are you talking about? Nathan looked at her sharply. She runs the design company you're always bragging about to your friends. The one you call that brilliant new startup. Her lips parted in shock. Cole Design Group. I nodded quietly, finally finding my voice. Yes, Mom, that's mine. The room erupted again in louder gasps and frantic whispers. My father's face went pale, then turned red with anger, then went white again. It was as if his pride couldn't decide what to feel. You're lying, he said, his voice hoarse. You barely made it through college. I built something from the ground up, I replied, my voice trembling but steady. While you were laughing at me for selling my sketches online, I was signing clients, designing homes, and paying off your mortgage behind your back. My mother's hand slipped from her pearls. One of them clattered onto the marble floor, the sound echoing in the quiet room. Lauren shot to her feet, her eyes flashing with anger. You think throwing money around like this makes you better than me? You just want to humiliate us. Nathan stepped closer to her, his tone low, but commanding. She didn't come here to humiliate anyone. She came to celebrate her sister, even after the terrible way you've all treated her. Lauren's lip quivered. You're lying. She's always been jealous of me. I shook my head slowly, feeling a sudden sadness for her. Jealous. I used to envy how loved you were, Lauren. How everyone adored you without you even trying. But today I just feel sorry for you. Her groom, Ryan, shifted again, his eyes darting nervously between us. Lauren, honey, maybe we should just… Don't, she snapped, cutting him off. Don't you dare take her side. Nathan placed a protective arm around my shoulders. He was as calm as ever. Let's go, sweetheart, he said to me. We've said enough. We turned toward the grand exit, but my father's voice cracked through the tension like a whip. Hannah, stop. I froze. His tone had changed. It wasn't full of anger anymore. It was raw, filled with something I had never heard from him before. Pain. Why didn't you tell us? He asked, his voice breaking. Why would you help us after everything? I turned back slowly, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. Because I couldn't hate you, I whispered, the truth spilling out. No matter how much you hurt me, you're still my parents. A part of me kept hoping I could finally earn your respect. But I understand now. Real love shouldn't have to be earned. My mother's chin trembled, but she said nothing. Lauren looked away, suddenly very quiet. Nathan gently guided me toward the door, his hand a steady comfort on my back. As we stepped out into the cool night air, I heard the faint, hesitant sound of music start up again behind us. It was softer now, as if the party had forgotten how to truly celebrate. Outside, under a sky full of stars, I finally exhaled. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. It was a feeling of release, of a heavy weight finally being lifted. Nathan turned to me, his expression gentle. You handled that with more grace than they deserved. I managed a faint smile. It wasn't about revenge, Nathan. It was just the truth. He brushed a stray strand of hair from my face, and the truth always wins in the end. I looked back through the tall glass doors. I saw my parents standing silently by the wedding table, just staring at the golden envelope. Lauren was still clutching her bouquet, her beautiful, perfect smile, completely gone. For once, the people who always had to have the last word had nothing left to say. The next morning, the wedding headlines weren't in the newspapers. They were all over the internet. Guests had filmed the whole moment on their phones, and the videos had spread like wildfire. Bride's poor sister gifts a house. Family humiliated by daughter's secret success. By the time I woke up, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Dozens of missed calls. Half were from people I barely knew, old classmates who had ignored me, neighbors who used to whisper about me, all suddenly wanting to catch up. Nathan set a warm cup of coffee on my nightstand. You're trending, sweetheart, he said softly, an amused smile tugging at his lips. I groaned, pressing my hands to my face. That's the last thing I wanted. He leaned against the doorway. Maybe, but sometimes the truth travels faster than lies. I took a sip of the coffee, but my heart still felt heavy. I never wanted my life to be defined by a moment of revenge. I just wanted peace. I wanted to be able to breathe, without constantly feeling I had to prove my worth. Then came a knock on the front door. It was sharp, but also sounded reluctant. Nathan went to answer it. My mother stood there. Her eyes were puffy and red from crying. Her hair, usually perfect, was slightly messy. It was a sight I had never seen in her carefully curated world. Hannah, she said softly. Can we talk? Nathan gave me a reassuring look, nodded, and left us alone in the living room. I motioned for her to sit on the sofa, but she remained standing, nervously wringing her hands. I didn't sleep at all last night, she confessed. The things we said to you. They were so cruel. I don't even know what we were trying to protect. Maybe our stupid pride. But that pride, it cost us our daughter. Her voice cracked, and for a brief moment, I didn't see the woman who always looked down on me. I saw a mother struggling with deep, deep regret. I never wanted to hurt you, she said, her eyes pleading. But your father and I, we always thought success was about appearances. About looking the part, not about quiet hard work. You proved us wrong. I stared at her, unsure how to respond. A part of me wanted to scream at her. Another part just wanted to break down and cry. Mom, I said quietly, finding my voice. I never wanted your approval because of money. I just wanted you to see me. To really see me. She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with fresh tears. I see you now, Hannah. I really do. Just then, Lauren appeared quietly behind her in the doorway. She stood with her arms crossed, looking small and unsure. I shouldn't have said what I said yesterday, she mumbled, not meeting my eyes. I met her gaze steadily. You didn't just say it, Lauren. You meant it. Her eyes filled with tears. I did, she admitted. But when Ryan showed me the deed to the house you gave us, I realized how little I deserved it. I can't accept it, Hannah. It doesn't feel right. I shook my head. Keep it, I said. Maybe it will remind you that real kindness doesn't need an audience. She blinked, stunned into silence. After everything I did to you? She finally whispered. Especially after that, I said simply. I don't want to become the person you were yesterday. My mother sniffled. Your father, he's waiting in the car. He's too ashamed to face you right now. I gave a faint, tired smile. Tell him he doesn't need to apologize. He just needs to stop measuring a person's worth by their wealth. When they left, Nathan came back in. He watched me quietly for a moment. You didn't have to forgive them, you know, he said. I sighed, leaning into his strong, steady presence. Forgiving them isn't for them, Nathan. It's for me. I spent too many years carrying the heavy weight of their judgment. I'm done letting it define who I am. He kissed my forehead gently. Then you've already won. I smiled softly, for the first time feeling a genuine sense of peace. No, I corrected him. We did. Outside, the morning sun spilled across our quiet street, golden and warm. It was the kind of light that feels like a new beginning. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel small anymore. I felt free. A few days later, the world had already chosen its side. My inbox was flooded with messages from people who had once ignored me, now full of praise. Journalists requested interviews. Local news stations wanted to feature the woman who stunned her family at her sister's wedding. But I didn't reply to any of them. I wasn't chasing fame or attention. I was chasing closure. Nathan was sitting at our kitchen island, his laptop open, when I walked in. You're all over the news again, he said, scrolling through headlines. They're calling you the quiet millionaire. I rolled my eyes with a tired smile. That's ridiculous. I'm not a millionaire. He tilted his head, a playful glint in his eye. Technically, my love, you are. I laughed softly. Then I guess I'm a very tired one. Before he could reply, the doorbell rang. Nathan frowned. Are you expecting someone? I wasn't. But when I opened the door, my father was standing there. He looked years older, not from age, but from regret. His shoulders were slumped. His tie was loose. His usual pride was completely gone. Dad, I whispered, startled. Hannah, he said quietly. He even removed his hat, like a man entering a church he'd abandoned for too long. Can I come in? I nodded and stepped aside. He walked in slowly, looking around the home I had bought, with the earnings from my first major project. His eyes softened as they landed on the photos on our walls. Pictures of Nathan and me at our small, simple wedding. A shot of my first tiny office. A snapshot of me painting designs on my old, worn-out tablet. I never asked about this place, he said finally, his voice thick with emotion. I never even thought to ask how you built all this. I just assumed you couldn't. I crossed my arms gently, not in anger, but in self-protection. You didn't want to believe I could. He nodded, the guilt heavy in his eyes. You're right. I was wrong. A thick, fragile silence filled the room. Then, he reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, neatly folded piece of paper. Your mother wrote this, he said. She couldn't face you again, but she wanted you to have it. I opened it slowly. The handwriting was shaky. Her usually perfect cursive was now uneven and raw. I'm sorry for every time I made you feel small. I thought protecting our image was protecting you, but all I did was push you away. I see now that real strength doesn't wear pearls or hide behind pride. It stands quietly and proves the world wrong. You did that. I'm proud of you, Hannah. Truly. Tears blurred the words before I could even finish reading. My dad's voice broke. Your mother and I. We forgot what truly matters. We measured love in dollars and social status, not in character. You changed that. I swallowed hard against the lump in my throat. I didn't want to change you. I just wanted you to see me. He nodded, his own eyes glassy. I do now. I see you clearer than I ever have before. Nathan came and placed a comforting hand on my back, silent, but steady. Then my dad sighed. We sold the fancy car. The big house, too. We're starting over, in a smaller place. Lauren and Ryan moved into the home you gave them. They're trying to make things right. I smiled faintly. Good. Maybe now we can all finally breathe again. He hesitated, then reached into his pocket one more time. He held out a small velvet box. Inside was a thin, delicate gold bracelet. It was the same one my mother used to wear every single Sunday to church. She wanted you to have it, he said softly. She said it belonged on the daughter who earned everything herself. My breath caught in my chest. For years, that bracelet had been a symbol of the distance between us, a reminder that I wasn't the daughter she bragged about to her friends. And now, it meant something entirely different. Tell her. Thank you, I whispered, slipping the bracelet onto my wrist. He smiled, a real warm, humbled smile. You were always the heart of this family, Hannah. We just didn't see it until you turned out the lights. Before he left, he looked back at me one last time. You didn't just give Lauren a house, he said. You gave all of us a second chance. After his car drove away, I stood by the window for a long time, the morning sunlight catching the gold around my wrist. Nathan came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. You okay? He murmured into my hair. I nodded, my eyes on the peaceful horizon. I think I finally am. He kissed the side of my head. You know, he teased gently, you could have just skipped all the drama and handed them a gift card. I laughed, leaning back into his strong embrace. Maybe, but sometimes, people don't really listen until the truth knocks them to their knees. He smiled. And you delivered it perfectly. That evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in orange and purple, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a reporter or a distant relative. It was Lauren. Her message was simple. Thank you for not giving up on us when we didn't deserve it. I stared at the screen for a long moment, then typed back my reply. Just make sure no one else in your life ever feels the way I did. That's all I ask. As I pressed send, I realized something profound. It wasn't revenge that had finally satisfied me. It was peace. The deep, quiet kind that comes when you stop trying to prove yourself to everyone and simply start living for yourself. And as Nathan dimmed the lights and drew me close, I finally understood. Sometimes the best revenge isn't humiliation. It's quietly showing them that you never needed their approval to shine in the first place. The laughter that once mocked me was gone. The silence it left behind was beautiful.